Part 3. Earth Return. Chapter 11. Target Penta. So, you're saying it's not your decision to make? Your offer is generous, but I can't accept without discussing it with my team. If our leader Brave Cod were alive, he would do the same. It seems you're still hung up on the fact that we were once part of Zeon. However, we are not the Zeon of the past. Let me emphasize that we are now allies, sharing a common dissatisfaction with the current Earth Federation government. The tension in the captain's quarters of the Axis spaceship Gwali was palpable as the second meeting between Fleet Commander Admiral Twanning and New Decide's Lieutenant Tosh Cray drew to a close. Axis had extended an invitation for New Decide to join their ranks, but Cray couldn't accept so readily. With Brave Cod's death, leadership fell to him but plagued by indecision. He remained silent. Axis shared the New Decide's goal of attacking and denouncing the Earth Federation government. But New Decide had grown out of the Titans, an organization created to hunt down Zeon remnants. Allying with Axis, a Zeon remnant itself, was a bitter pill for Cray and his comrades to swallow. It would grant them the military might to strike at the Earth Federation directly, but at the cost of turning against Earth itself, rendering the New Decide's purpose meaningless. Power or principles, it was an agonizing choice. Yesterday's enemy, today's friend, Cray muttered, as he gripped the lift handle, heading back to the New Decide's assigned crew quarters. Maybe it's time for radical thinking. Through a porthole, he glimpsed 3 pale pink Gaza Sea mobile suits, flying in formation, trailed by a peculiar Musai-class cruiser, towing a massive cone. It seemed odd for an HLV heavy lift vehicle, he thought. The Axis fleet, strengthened by their alliance with the advanced A.E.U.G fleet, boldly charted a course towards Lone, determined to reclaim the mobile suits launched from the lunar surface. What would he make of all this? Cray's thoughts drifted to another man, not Cod, but a figure of decisive action. Was he drowning in paperwork back on Earth, or had he cast off the shackles of military life for a new beginning? Did he even realize the turmoil Cray was currently entangled in? A debt of flesh and blood bound them, a leg lost, and a life irrevocably changed. Cray couldn't embrace death without settling this debt. Sowing chaos within the ranks of the Earth Federation was his path to balance the scales, a righteous repayment, fueled by duty and gratitude. Little did Cray know that Stoll Mannings, the very man who occupied his thoughts, remained relentless in his pursuit, hunting them still. Weary and battered, the surviving mobile suits from the lunar battle returned to their motherships, ferried by helves from the moon's surface. The XS and Z2+, with enough thrust to escape lunar gravity, had already made their way back to the Pegasus 3. "Hey, glad to see you made it back in one piece." Shin Crypt's greeting rang out as an exhausted Roots stepped onto the hangar deck. Crypt, having lost 2 comrades and his own mobile suit, the FAS, in the fight against the Mark V, had been forced to sit out the recent combat. Not that the FAS could have handled the lunar descent anyway, so he would have been sidelined regardless. Roots waved him off. "Yeah, barely. I'm dead on my feet. Just give me some space." Crypt nodded, watching Roots retreating back. "Hey, Roots! Thanks for avenging our guys out there." A thumbs up was Roots' only reply. 6 hours later, Earth Standard Time, March 31st. The Pegasus 3 broke formation, its boosters flaring as it left the Suppression Force Alpha behind. Alone, it set out in pursuit of the Axis fleet and their New Decide rescues. The fastest ship in the Earth forces, and the only one with a prayer of catching the escaping armada. Captain Heathrow's voice crackled over the intercom. "Our mission is to determine if the New Decides has allied with Axis. Avoid combat. Focus on recon. Pilots, get some rest. But remember, do not engage Axis unless they fire first." Heathrow out. Is he serious? Roots grumbled, snatching a drink in the pilot's lounge after his short nap. We're supposed to just be target practice out there? You'll only be a target because your skills are lacking, a voice startled him. Roots turned to see Mannings, the mobile suit squadron commander, standing in the doorway. Geez, you sure have a knack for popping up in weird places, old man. Roots glared at him, sipping on a mildly sweet isotonic drink. You did all right on the moon. For you, anyway, Manning said. Hey, thought I might get a bit more credit than all right. You're no veteran yet, kid. Beat me. Then we'll talk. Roots paused, remembering. Hey, what was that weird thing you said on the moon? About me being chosen, or something? And what's the deal with the S Gundam moving on its own, beating that Mark V? Manning's eyes widened. It moved on its own? Yeah, it moved on its own and beat that Mark V Gundam on its own. I see. Mannings pondered for a moment. What's the deal with that Gundam anyway? What is it? Roots pressed. Let's just say it's an exceptional machine. You don't need to worry about the details. More importantly, how about a training bout for old time's sake? Show me how much you've grown. Fine, if I beat you, you'll spill the beans about the S Gundam. I'll show you that I'm a cut above the rest. Roots declared, his challenge clear. The two left the pilot pit and headed for the mobile suite deck. Roots climbed into the S Gundam, while Mannings entered the training U's high-mobility neurotrainer beside it. The two mobile suits grabbed marker pellet guns mounted on the wall for mock battles and headed for the mobile suite elevator. Training again, I see. Very diligent. An excellent attitude. Captain Heathrow's image appeared on the neurotrainer's cockpit monitor. Mannings nodded at the transmission camera, prompting Heathrow to switch to a private communication channel. The video and audio were only transmitted to Manning's machine, and likewise, only Heathrow could receive them on his end. Captain, the technicians have been lying to us. Alice hasn't been sealed away, Mannings reported. What? That damn Carol? Heathrow cursed. She is still alive inside the S Gundam. And Cheshire Cat, Roots, is definitely learning something from her. I intend to find out what. I see. I want a detailed report later. Wrap things up and come to the captain's quarters. I'll be waiting. As the communication ended, Mannings felt a slight tremor as his machine connected to the catapult. He switched the IMPC to launch mode. The two mobile suits were ejected from the catapults on either side of the Pegasus 3, soaring into the velvety blackness of space. The cafeteria of the Axis flagship Gwali buzzed, with heated debate, as the surviving members of New Decides gathered around Lieutenant Tosh Cray. Cray had insisted on an open discussion, rank be damned, and the soldiers dove in with gusto. Look, it boils down to a difference in methodology. Lieutenant Fast's side of the 4th Assault Team spoke up. If you want to join Axis, go. If you want to stay and fight as New Decides, stay. Simple as that. Cray fixed him with a penetrating stare. And what about you, Fast? What's your choice? I'm staying. But we can't force others to do the same, can we? And if you think about it, as long as one group survives, they can carry on the fight even if the other falls. But that splits our forces. Another soldier protested. What can a measly 40 of us hope to achieve? So what? We just roll over for the new government? No. I'm saying we should use Axis strength to our advantage. Offshow, his eyes bandaged, faced Cray. It's a choice between reputation and substance. I choose to stay and fight for our reputation. Without that, our cause means nothing. Sao To Mei spoke up. Clinging to the Zeon name is foolish at this point. Our goals align. Shouldn't we join forces with those who have power? Side turned to Cray again. Lieutenant, we're just going in circles at this point. You have to decide for us. Silence fell, heavy and oppressive, as all eyes turned to Cray. He closed his eyes for a long moment, the weight of leadership bearing down on him. When he spoke, his voice was steady. I respect your sentiments. As of today, the new decides ceases to exist. I won't hold back those eager to join Axis. Those who wish to continue this fight by my side, stay. But let us part as comrades, not enemies. The cafeteria erupted, voices raised in anger and disbelief. That's just shirking responsibility. But as Cray remained silent, an immovable pillar amidst the storm, the room gradually quieted. Several soldiers stood, saluted Cray with a mixture of respect and regret, and left. As Sao Tome approached, Cray met his gaze, his eyes searching. You're the one who called the Axis fleet. I'm grateful for your persuasion of Admiral A.E.U.G and Iron City. I never imagined we had someone from Side 3 among us. I didn't intend to hide it. Fighting with you all has been quite an honor. I believe you understand now how it feels to be betrayed by one's homeland. I wish I could continue with you, but I have my own battle to reclaim my home. Cray clasped his hand, his grip firm. Don't misunderstand. You were once our enemy, yes. But now, you're our comrade. I'm truly grateful. Thank you. And good luck. As Sao Tome walked away, Cray surveyed the room. 28 soldiers remained, their faces etched with determination. 2/3 of the survivors, a mere handful against the might of the Earth Federation. He wasn't disappointed by the number, but hope seemed a distant dream. Now then, gentlemen, the road ahead is daunting, he said, his voice ringing out in the stillness. From now on, we're no longer the new decides, but individuals fighting our own battles. Let's do everything we can, the 28 of us. Let's show them what we're made of. In the space just a short distance from the Pegasus 3, Manning's Nero trainer and Roots' Gundam danced a deadly ballet. Manning's, your ass is mine, Roots yelled, maneuvering the S Gundam behind the Nero trainer. He fired the marker pellet gun, the compressed air propelling the pellets toward the Nero. But Manning's was a ghost, his machine flitting away in a dizzying zigzag. Splatters of neon yellow paint burst around the Nero, congealing into drifting orbs. Son of a... Roots bit back a curse, biting the inside of his cheek. Manning's voice crackled over the comm, sharp with criticism. Your tactics are textbook. In a real skirmish, that predictability will get you killed. You need to be unpredictable and keep your adversaries guessing you're still an amateur. What were you doing on the moon? Manning spun the Nero 180 degrees and charged straight at the S Gundam, intent on recreating the battle with the Mark V. The combat data from that fight was loaded into his IMPC. Mamersfizval. Suddenly, the Nero vanished. Alice, why are you trying to make me remember that? I can do that too. The Nero burst from the depths, soaring upwards as he unleashed a volley of pellets. They sliced through the air, locked onto their target. But the S Gundam was ready. With a deft twist of its frame, it plunged downwards, the pellets whizzing harmlessly past. In a flash, it swiveled, returning fire in a relentless barrage as the Nero streaked overhead. 3 splotches of yellow marred the Nero's gray and orange hull, stark evidence of the S Gundam's handiwork. Well now, color me impressed, came the voice over the comms. Seems you've made some strides. That's 2 wins and a loss for you. Don't you forget that breathing technique. Yeah, old-timer. You ain't forgotten our little arrangement, have you? Roots couldn't honestly say he had full control over that attack from start to finish. And Manning's had picked up on that. The difference between his initial and later movements is too great. So Alice had indeed awakened. Manning's muttered to himself. But it seems she's not fully there yet. Likely just her defensive instincts kicking in. For Alice to truly awaken, to seize her full potential, her Cheshire cat must remain blissfully unaware of her existence. The instant unrequited love turns mutual, and the dance of romance screeches to a halt. When feelings are requited, the two parties start leaning on each other, growing complacent. But in that interim, that tantalizing space before two hearts entwined, humans of all stripes pour themselves into self-improvement, hungry for their beloved's admiration. Not blatant flattery, but the cultivation of one's own allure, harnessing this drive to forge Alice into an independent being that was the aim of Stage 2 in her tailor-made education, the key to kindling the sparks of free will. Yet this love story was destined to stay tragically one-sided by design, an infatuation never to be reciprocated. Until Alice gained true autonomy, this artificial affair had to endure at any cost. With the truth laid bare, Alice was never truly sealed. To abruptly confine her now would be beyond reckless. If heartbreak struck now, if despair consumed her, the consequences would be dire. Alice's heart must remain intact. The flame of romance needed to gutter out naturally, the novelty of her crush wearing thin. "Roots, you're still green when it comes to combat," Mannings chided. "Relying on instinct alone? Huh? Any fresh-faced rookie could do that. You haven't earned the right to gloat about beating me. Achieve total victory every single time. Then we'll talk." Mannings decided to ignore the agreement he had made with Roots about revealing the S-Gundam's secrets if Roots won the mock space battle. He was the adult here, after all. "That's a load of crap." Roots seethed. "A win's a win, fair and square. What kind of CO goes back on his word, huh? 2 victories are worthless if you wind up dead the 3rd time. Out there, 1 slip-up is all it takes. Lights out, game over. This stinks, and you know it. Quit talking out of both sides of your mouth. Keep jerking me around like this. One of these days, pal, you'll find a bullet in your back." "Bullets, is it? That's rich coming from you. In my experience, anyone hailed as straight shooting is just someone who rolled over for their master. But if you're so confident you can get the drop on me, Roots, be my guest. Take your best shot. Count on it, Gramps. Your time's coming. Mark my words. Lucky for you, I'm out of ammo. So I'll let it slide. For now." The Axis fleet glided into L1 right on schedule. Cray and his band of 27 boarded the Bull Run, the battered flagship of the A.E.U.G fleet that had boldly forged ahead. The scars of recent combat adorned its hull, a testament to the ferocity of the battles it had endured. Only the cruiser A.E.U.G remained by its side, a lone sentinel. No doubt the A.E.U.G fleet had borne the brunt of the enemy's onslaught, fighting valiantly until the bitter end to make it this far. A shuttle bearing the 28 survivors emerged from the Axis battleship Gwali, charting a course for the Bull Run. From the catapult control room, the tattered remnants of the new Decide's forces stood at attention, hands over hearts, bidding a solemn farewell. Among their ranks was a man from Side 3, an ally of Axis, once known as Sao Tome. Cray docked the shuttle at the Bull Run's external airlock and ascended to the bridge, where A.E.U.G briefed him on the situation. So, they were a bust, after all. Only 5 in full working order, eh? The bulk of the mobile suits painstakingly launched from the lunar surface had crumbled under the acceleration shock of the mass driver, or the brutal impact of the mass catcher. They had braced for losses, but the high attrition rate was staggering. "My deepest apologies," A.E.U.G offered. "If our fleet had managed to draw the enemy's fire a bit longer, you might have had a chance to fine-tune the launch velocity." Cray's suspicions were confirmed. The A.E.U.G fleet had been decimated, their ships reduced to smoldering husks. Some had even surrendered to the enemy. A.E.U.G pressed on, his mind's eye replaying the hellish battle. In the end, my son swooped in to land the killing blow. A magnificent assault, I must say. Forgive me, Admiral, but I thought your son had fallen in the previous war. Ah, old habits. Not my flesh and blood, of course, but the Federation. They're like family. I meant the captain of the Pegasus 3. He was my protege back in my days as principal of the Academy. Sharpest mind to walk those halls since its founding. Mark my words, that one's a commander in the making. Perhaps it's time for this old warhorse to hang up his spurs. Despite the grim tidings, A.E.U.G's face held a curious glimmer of contentment as he spoke of that final clash. Lieutenant Cray, urgent transmission from the Axis fleet. The comms officer interrupted. Patch it through. Admiral Twanning's visage flickered to life on the monitor. Gentlemen, I'm afraid this is where we part ways. We can't risk open war with the Federation, not now. But we have one final gift for you, a cruiser and a mobile armor. Consider them yours. A Musai-class cruiser glided alongside the Bull Run, the very same vessel Cray had spied from the Gwali's porthole after his meeting with Twanning. A mobile armor, not an HLV. Cray couldn't disguise his shock. Its conical frame was titanic, easily rivaling a cruiser. He couldn't wrap his head around it being classed as a mobile armor. Mobile armors, also known as Space High Mobility Units or All-Range Multi-Purpose Support Weapons, were a weapons system designed with an emphasis on comprehensive offensive power and firepower over versatility, in contrast to the Mobile Suit Weapons System, which prioritized versatility and was designed for close quarters and melee combat in space with a humanoid form. Mobile armors boasted heavier armor and armaments compared to mobile suits, and their shapes were not restricted to humanoid forms. But even in this era, no mobile armor had ever dwarfed a cruiser, breaching the 200-meter mark. She's a prototype, but she's ready for the crucible of combat. We've code-named her A.E.U.G, but call her what you will. The manual's waiting for you aboard the cruiser, until our paths cross again, my friends. We're in your debt. Cray and Twanning traded crisp salutes across the screen. With a parting glimpse of the behemoth mobile armor and its companion ship, the Axis fleet vanished into the void of lone. The A.E.U.G. She's not without her flaws, is she? The Gwali's captain turned to face Twanning, a knowing smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. We're handing her over for free. They'll have to overlook a few imperfections. It's not like we're in any position to arm that lot to the teeth. When you strip away the veneer, those who walked off this ship, they're fetty lapdogs, nothing more. What more can we possibly owe them? Our glorious Zeon nation must gird itself for the Earth descent operation. Parting with even that lone cruiser is a luxury we can ill afford. The reality was undeniable. The Axis forces were stretched to the breaking point. With units scattered across the side colonies, all hands on deck for the pacification campaign, they had no military might to spare. Every scrap of firepower counted. 28 soldiers, 5 mobile suits, a battered battleship, a cruiser barely limping along, and a mobile armor of dubious capabilities towed by yet another cruiser. Cray's mind reeled as he tallied their meager assets. What the hell are we supposed to accomplish with this ragtag assortment? He posed the question to himself as he entered his assigned officer's quarters from the bridge. Settling in front of the computer terminal installed in the room, designed for accessing the ship's main computer's general information database, Cray took in the antiquated keyboard before him. The Bull Run, a refitted old model battleship, hadn't undergone a full modernization of even minor daily use equipment, leaving the input device a far cry from voice or eye-tracking systems. Almost absent-mindedly, his fingers danced across the keys, summoning a pseudo-3D map of the entire celestial sphere, from Earth to the Moon's satellite orbit. Such information, far from classified military secrets, had long been stored in each ship's computer, easily retrievable, even when disconnected from the Federation's main computer. As Cray stared blankly at the celestial map, a thought struck him. He zoomed in on Earth's low orbit, revealing the low-orbit relay station with its 5 cylindrical arms splayed out. Penta. His fingers flew across the keys once more, cross-referencing data on Penta's garrison's strength before the link was severed. The forces that had advanced to lunar orbit, the fleet's orbital elements, propellant levels, and current general aerospace information. Within minutes, the computer displayed Penta's estimated deployment status. Fortunately, the Federation's main fleet stationed at Penta had yet to return from the moon, leaving Penta itself virtually deserted. Next, he pulled up the Federation government schedule. Federation Assembly convocation date. A new strategy raced through Cray's mind. Once again, his fingers danced furiously across the keyboard. This is it. 24 hours later, he presented his fresh operational plan to Admiral A.E.U.G and the troops under his command. The plan's outline was as follows: launch an assault on the weakly defended Penta, which also served as the home port for the Federation's main fleet. Seize control and commandeer the shuttle used for communication with Earth. The mobile suits and soldiers would then descend to the city of Dakar in Earth's African region, where the Federation Assembly was in session. While this unit took control of the Federation Assembly, the mobile armor would stand guard against the inevitable pursuit by the space fleet. Ultimately, the mobile armor would carry out a pinpoint bombing of the city of Lhasa in the Asian region, the planned relocation site for the Federation's military headquarters. But this was no ordinary bombing run. The mobile armor's manual revealed its atmospheric re-entry capabilities, enabling them to crash the mobile armor itself into the target, a small-scale colony drop, but with far greater accuracy than a typical colony drop, given its capabilities. Cray believed that this plan represented the total of what they could accomplish with their current fighting strength. A complete surprise attack, a military coup. Even if they perished in the attempt, they would make their statement. They would have no regrets. The plan was unanimously approved and set in motion. Cray and Side were selected as the mobile armor's pilots. Along with a handful of aerospace pilots, they transferred via shuttle to the Musai-class cruiser. This cruiser, stripped of armaments and seemingly modified for the sole purpose of transporting the mobile armor, was christened the Brave, a name the entire team held dear in recognition of its role in the operation. Target, Penta? The captain's voice crackled over the comms. The Bull Run, the stalwart A.E.U.G, the newly christened Brave with its precious cargo, an unlikely armada bound for glory or oblivion. One final sortie, a date with destiny. Resolve steeled, hearts ablaze. They plunged headlong into the void.